For second game, RivaL need to pick something up if they want to at least get a split.
Let's see if they think that Awilix was the problem, because we got picks and bans ready for game 2. And I mean, after the way Eanix came through and rocked them, RivaL's got to try and do something here in the picks and ban phase. We do see Terra banned out right away. Literally no surprises there.
No surprises at all. Very safe ban. Yeah. But it is surprising that Eanix were the ones to ban it, considering their first pick, right? Normally, you're the ones that want to try to get that god for the control.
And look at that, RivaL banning out the Sobek Eanix. That's a huge boon for them, being able to force the hand of Team RivaL, who felt like they just couldn't handle the initiations from DineOhSaw. Ardio banned out, nothing big there, and Geb also banned out for Team RivaL.
Two safe support bans. Really afraid of DineOhSaw the way he was playing in that last game.
I would be too.
Honestly, everyone from Eanix has just been playing out of their mind, and I feel there needs to be more pressure from RivaL in this game, because I wasn't seeing anything in the early game from their jungler at RivaL. It was just kind of roaming about, trying to get farm, wasn't making the plays happen.
The Camazotz was not high impact for Eanix in the last game, as Awilix once again picked up for Eanix, and they still have the Sun Wukong to give them plenty of setup. We also see Chulainn and Athena locked in for RivaL, so they got plenty of control on their side too.
That's a lot of control right there with the Kumbhakarna. Also, good idea to have it for the Mighty Yawn. Not only do you mess somebody, but you get that anti-attack speed. So RivaL are going to have to be careful about their itemization against that god. Nemesis is the selection. It's going to be able to melt that support.
That's a really good pickup, particularly against the Kumbhakarna. Someone that Nemesis can isolate very easily and take down. But think about it from Eanix. With the way that they still have the support and the dual lane together, Kumbhakarna is high pressure over there.
Oh, absolutely. He's going to be looking for a lot of setup. Even if he necessarily can't find the initiation pull from the Awilix, he's going to be looking just to mess somebody for a long period of time and allow Awilix to almost set up herself.
Once again, we see that Nox ban come out. I believe RivaL banned it last game as well, or at least Nox was banned. So that's a lot of control from the mid lane that they're not trying to deal with in this game. In particular, they want to make sure that their mid lane has something that they can handle, just Team RivaL.
That's right. RivaL did ban that away in the beginning of the first phase. Really trying to focus out 50-meter fly, but he wasn't too worried. He looked pretty comfortable on that Raijin. Building Book of Thoth early normally means that the enemy team is going to try to punish you for that, right? You don't have that mobility to escape any sort of aggression, but RivaL were just too staggered.
And that just comes back to Rapio's pressure in the early game on the Camazotz, which we said just really wasn't there. Looking for some more impact from him in this game as Vulcan gets locked in for RivaL. That's a lot of damage.
It's all about the setup from the Athena. Normally you're looking for potentially a Scylla, but it's RivaL that bans Scylla instead, despite them having the next pick. Whenever your second pick after the banning phases, you're the one with the next one. And Vulcan is more comfortable, I would assume, for RivaL.
And it looks like RivaL really thought that it was DineOhSaw on the Sobek that was the problem, because they've let Eanix have literally everything else they had last game. Raijin, Rama, Awilix, Sun Wukong. They say as long as that Sobek's not there, then Awilix isn't going to be as much to worry about as they lock in Hu Yi.
Well, RivaL are going to have to change things up, because the only thing Eanix changed was that one support. So the play style needs to be explosive out of the second place team from the Summer Valencia Champions.
And Eanix here sitting atop 1-0 over Team RivaL, coming out looking like veterans really in that last game. The way they were able to make those calls, the way they defended the objectives, the patience that we saw them playing with to set up those picks. If Eanix can continue to play like that, they're going to be really strong in the split.
And RivaL did punish them a little bit for doing the early objectives, finding a kill after the Gold Fury, finding a kill after the Portal Demon. However, it just wasn't enough. It was just still too early in the game. But this time around, RivaL are not going to go for this Fafnir physical hunter, magical hunter comp. They're going to run for more of a traditional support initiation style, which I like better here. Watson and JacobHL should be holding hands in hand everywhere they go in the jungle.
Vulcan, though, still is someone that could be objective mindset, especially with that turret, the way that it does great damage to objectives, especially the Gold Fury. His ultimate is really strong confirm as well. If you time it well, it can certainly function like an execution for them on it, as Eanix take the fire elementals with their high pressure in mid.
Well, speaking of execution on objectives, yet again, Predators going for the hog. It's nice idea, trying to strip away blue buff, and then trying to find the execution on that Gold Fury Fire Giant. We'll see if it plays an impact on the later stages.
Despite it not going so well for him last game, or at least in the early game, he does decide to run that Hand of the Gods back. It's Eanix, though, with the pressure in the dual lane. They're going to come over and try and start up these oracles actually baiting in JacobHL, but looks like JacobHL is doing all right.
He'll be fine. He's sitting pretty level 3. It's actually Dobson that's going to try to get Eanix to force them to make this rotation happen.
Yeah, right now the Gold Fury, good ricochet from Dobson. That's going to set up the split so that neither side gets the vision, but doesn't give it up to Team Eanix. So Dobson showing he's comfortable on the Hui.
So far, so good for both of these teams. No one taking a split quite yet. This Predators has learned his lesson from the last time, respecting the early game from a Chulainn that's being played by Gnome.
In this game, we're seeing Rapio on that Nemesis. So Nemesis is another one that I hope that we see him play a little bit with more pressure than he played with in the last game. Nemesis ganks onto 50-meter fly, in particular, onto DineOhSaw we talked about, really could be devastating in the early.
Especially considering 50-meter fly yet again. It's going for that Book of Thought Rush. He's going to be delayed with the boots. Wouldn't be surprised, though, if he opts for an early Wing Blade, trying to just counter the ultimate from Rapio.
And since Predators went for that Hand of the Gods, there's only one sprint early on the side of Eanix, so those slows coming out from Rapio are going to be just that much more devastating. If DineOhSaw's not a part of the engagement, they don't really have a way to cleanse them. They'll just be slowed.
I'm not too worried for Rapio, though, despite the sprint for DineOhSaw. It's simply because of the cooldown. Nice ultimate out of Auzrik, getting that first blood.
That's what getting to level 5 first will do for you. And Auzrik gets up that kill. Predators is the one that ends up getting credit for it, though. And now it's Gnome who takes the early spill in solo lane. So I'm sure Predators is happy.
Just not really respecting the potential for level 5. Sometimes when you're level 4, you have to look at your own experience bar when you're in a wave. If you're 4.5 and you know you can't contest this next wave, chances are your opponents are going to hit 5 off that wave. Not respecting the potential level 5 play, Gnome takes the first spill.
Using your own experience bar to gauge where your opponents is and how likely they are to hit level 5 is something we expect from these high-level solo laners. Not doing it there were Gnome and Rapio, and they end up getting punished by Awilix, who's now going to be about a level up over Rapio, and the same for Predators, as Gnome's still not level 5.
And this is a very scary god to give a lead to. And Awilix can just carry the game by herself. The damage is just very high, not to mention the cooldown's very low on that Feather Step.
We saw it last game. It kind of felt like Auzrik was the one that was the real problem for Team RivaL. They felt like the setup from DineOhSaw was a little bit too much, but Auzrik was also blinking in and getting tons of setup. As you said, timing the Feather Step very well in those engagements too, so that's something he'll be able to do even without the Soga.
RivaL already with this first spill are down about 800, almost 1,000 gold, heading into the 4-minute mark. It's not too bad right now, but we saw what RivaL did with their lead. They tried to ward everywhere in the map. They didn't really do anything, but this time with Eanix, the way they've executed in the mid to late game, the last game, I'm really assuming them to kind of take charge, at least in the warding category, and start going for these objectives once we're seeing Rama potentially a level 9.
We're seeing that the Oracles are about to spawn back up, but Watson is backing here, and he does end up choosing to stay. So that means now 50-meter fly may end up having to come over here and contest, as right now JacobHL is the only one that's in position. He's already getting started trying to get those objectives down.
I think Auzrik was either spotted or heard behind that wall. Both players from RivaL really respecting the potential gank. We're seeing some wards there. If I look at the mini-map, those both are from Eanix, so RivaL weren't really spotted over any sort of vision, so good map awareness out of RivaL.
That way they can avoid letting this Auzrik get further ahead on the Awilix, which we saw be such a nightmare for him in the last game. At least able to secure his own speed buff over here, though, is Auzrik, and he'll be able to use that to potentially set up a little bit more on Watson and try and set up a knockup for him.
Gnome sitting really far back. He's in radius to get the melee experience. So as long as they die, whether or not he gets the last hit, he'll still get the partial last hit credit for the gold and the experience. It's better to get that partial gold and experience than to die and miss out on the whole wave.
And it looks like Eanix has recognized that their pressure is on the solo lane side. That's where they've chosen to put their wards, and it's RivaL, the one with vision over on this side of the map on the duo side. Finally, though, after this last back and coming back out, they do have a couple wards on that top side now to try and help spot out some rotations and keep Vaporish a little bit safer over here in the duo lane.
Normally, whenever there's this much pressure, hold that thought, though, as Rapio's forced to go into the beats. You're going to escape for the moment. Nemesis ultimate onto Auzrik, but it's RivaL disengaging.
Pressure is the name of the game. Predators very deep into the jungle of Team RivaL, and now that's a long cooldown that Rapio's going to have to sit on another 146 seconds on his beads. And the beads, even for Watson, were using that engagement too. Actually, 3 relic cooldowns were used. That's actually a pretty big win for Eanix if they choose to start up another engagement.
Not too many defensive options for the Chaos side. The rest of Eanix trying to look to something on the right yet again, really abusing Gnome. That's 1 level behind. 50-meter fly even making this rotation. And as I was going to mention earlier on, is whenever there's a team making this much pressure on one side of the map, you normally want to do a tug-of-war battle and put the same amount of pressure on the opposite side, but RivaL not going for on the left. DineOhSaw completing the 75 stacks, going to get extra health on that Lonos mask.
And look at Eanix. They've gotten to about a 1,500 gold lead just from the control that they have here on the map so far. We're about 7 minutes or so into the game. That's showing that they're the ones getting those neutral camps like the fire elementals. They're the ones pulling off the invades, and RivaL are already on the back foot. Early on in this game, Eanix are just looking good.
It has been looking good. Nice little stun from Dobson. It's going to do a little bit of damage as it forces the health potion out of Vaporish Coast. Not able to really make anything happen. DineOhSaw's just going to mez and walk away, and this is something that Eanix are going to be relying on heavily, is the engages from DineOhSaw.
DineOhSaw has a lot of options at his disposal to set up those engagements, so I agree that's where we'll be taking a look at. He did choose to go with the sprint, so it's not as if he'll be blinking in just yet, perhaps at level 12, but that'll be something that'll allow him to either disengage or engage.
Now that I'm thinking about it a little bit longer, it's actually probably going to be Auzrik and Predators engaging and penetrating that backline and having DineOhSaw stay back and peel for his hyper carries in that late game. As good as the engages from a Kumbhakarna are, the peels are even better.
The peels are even better, and we saw Predators set up some nice knockups for Auzrik last game, so it's certainly something that they feel comfortable with. But take a look at this solo lane side. Predators really has had the pressure on Gnome over here. His tower already down to about half health.
It's not that big of a deal. Even if that tower were to go down, that would probably favor Gnome because now he can just last hit. He doesn't have to push the wave and try to make that rotation. The game would slow down quite a bit, at least on the right-hand side, and it would speed up around the Gold Fury.
That would see Predators freed up to make a few more rotations at least, so maybe be able to be a little bit more a part of some of these engagements as finally some of those relics we saw RivaL forced into in the last engagement are back available for them. So now RivaL might feel a little bit more comfortable trying to get an engagement started up themselves.
But it's going to be against 50-meter fly. That's almost finished stacking the Book of Thoth, having pen boots. They missed their timing window to try to abuse the lack of mobility on 50-meter fly in both games thus far.
And again, that's Rapio playing kind of passively, it feels, maybe a little bit, just not looking for too much. Is it a misplay? Is he waiting for a bigger opportunity? What are we seeing at it?
It's unforeseen circumstances for not only Rapio, but for the rest of his team. Gnome getting first blooded is never a good thing for any jungler. Your solo lane collapses, jungle soon to follow, followed by middle after the fact. But forcing a team fight around the speed buff is not something you want to do as a Nemesis. Just try to help out your hunter. You're having a Hu-Yi battle against a Rama. As long as you can shut down the Rama from getting safely to the mid to late game, that Hu-Yi can just control the rest of the mid game himself.
Rapio is a good bit behind Auzrik in that jungle lane too, so to your credit, it is difficult for him to try and go have any kind of pressure on the map. Auzrik, we already know, very capable of using that Awilix to make a lot of problems for Team RivaL, but now we're sitting here, it's 9 minutes, 45 seconds in. Eanix still sitting up 1 kill to 0, so hasn't been a whole lot of action as far as kills are concerned, but there's been plenty of trading out, plenty of objective control coming out from these two teams, so I wouldn't say that it's been slow at all.
Not at all. Predator is still going to be looking to abuse that Hand of the God, as he was kind of roaming earlier, trying to look for sort of invades. Didn't have the exact timing of the speed buff, fortunately, for RivaL, so they're going to secure this objective. Being very cautious, though, as the blue buff is about to respawn.
Knock up onto JacobHL does set up the pull coming out from Awilix. The damage one more time at a 50-meter fly was good. That lets Auzrik get the credit, and they're going to continue going in on the Gnome. 50-meter fly is coming up huge in this rotation. 2 quick kills go the way of Eanix, and they even take the blue buff.
This is the damage you have to respect out of Raijin. If left unchecked with fully stacked Book of Thoth stacks is just so evident and clear what an impact this mid laner can do. First objective is actually going to be the Portal Demon, really recognizing that Dobson, only level 12, can't solo the Gold Fury by himself. There's no risk for Eanix to go for this right side objective.
And without any vision on the Portal Demon, Watson couldn't have timed that ultimate any better. He just threw it out because he knew they were over there, but it ends up being too late. So that's a cooldown that they won't have. But they are grouping up around the Gold Fury, at least for the Oracles, trying to establish some vision. But that was right when the Portal Demon spawned, totally. They cleaned it up quick.
It's all about the pressure from Eanix now. They just haven't let go of any of it. On the right-hand side, we're seeing Predators and Auzrik just constantly take away buffs, take away the life from Gnome, and with this one-level lead for Predators, he's able to back now and get that second Relic Shell to even force more engages potentially around this Gold Fury.
And this game, I think, especially game one as well, is a really good example of how important that domino effect is. The early game going a little bit in favor of Eanix because they get the early kill onto Gnome means that Rapio ends up behind. So now Rapio can't even put pressure onto 50-meter fly. Not necessarily kill him, but at least force him back, at least makes him think in that lane, and now he can rotate in and do tons of damage.
And he's also going to be able to proxy between that tier 1 and tier 2 from Predators. Not able to find the knockup is Auzrik. I like the attempt there. And for Rapio, though, with this 2-level deficit, Nemesis is not the most fortunate god to be from behind. You're basically going to be considered an ult bot, trying to melt somebody down with just your ultimate. You don't want to be in the thick of things if you're behind that experience in gold because you don't have the health or the protections.
And there are some gods who can still do, I mean, because we say that you really don't want to be behind, but maybe gods like say Unbach or Odin can still do the main thing that they do, Thor, even if they're behind. Mostly what they provide is setup or control, but Nemesis, who's really looking to try and shred out a specific target, get a lot of extra HP from that shield from those levels, won't have all that available.
3-on-3 in the mid lane. Just staring at each other down. No one really wanting to cross that imaginary midline. Eanix with a very comfortable 3,500 gold lead, really building off of this compared to the last game. They didn't go too ham in that first game, but this second one, it's just been non-stop. This Awilix has been non-stop relentless.
In particular, the relentless one, I believe, is Predators. Just no respect for Gnome over here in that soul lane, up proxying between the tier 1 and tier 2. Now he's got a chance to come in on the backside of Watson here in the middle lane, but he does end up backing off. I think he's standing right on top of a ward from RivaL, so they would have recognized that was coming.
There's two reasons why you want to proxy between tier 1s and tier 2s as a soul laner. Number one, you want rotations to happen. You want to bait the enemy team to go to your lane so your team can get the Gold Fury. Level 14 Sun Wukong with Height of Urchin, Gladiator Shield, very difficult to lock down. Second reason you want to proxy is to be able to clear the wave first before your opponent and then make that rotation happen, making the impact first.
Over here in the dual lane, there could potentially be trouble. Dobson very low. Auzrik and Vaporish Co. is not able to clean up a kill or anything there. And actually, Dobson able to get out without having to use even a relic or his ultimate. So playing very safe was Dobson.
Auzrik used that ultimate, but not able to really find the pull there like you were talking about. Gold Fury is going to get engaged on by Eanix. Watson could throw out that ultimate. A good engage from JacobHL, forcing the reset.
He got 2 pulled in, but it was the immediate follow-up from 50-meter fly that blew him up. Watson, though, coming up big with his own ultimate, lets him trade 1-for-1. Now Auzrik goes back to base, and that's an important member that Eanix are going to be missing.
Favoring out RivaL in this 1-for-1 exchange. Support for the jungler, but not only that, the support is the Athena, so she can use her ultimate when she revives, making the rotation before Auzrik will.
That's right. Defender of Olympus means Athena can be a part of that engagement much faster. Eanix, though, we're definitely looking for that Gold Fury. Look, they committed 4 Sentry Wards to that Gold Fury pit in the surrounding areas just to make sure there was no way RivaL could have any vision, but Watson was on the mark to slow down that aggression.
But Watson had no mana. He had to back on out. The rotation for Predators is here. Gnome's not quite there. DineOhSaw is going to Mez and root Dobson in place. That Defender of Olympus is so far away, there was no possible way to force that reset.
Predators also had the hand of the gods, so even if they'd been closer, likely wouldn't have happened. Predators here, though, under a little bit of trouble. Ricochet is off the mark, and Predators able to get out scot-free. Now Eanix are pushing their advantage on the map and forcing that issue on the Gold Fury.
Despite the 4-on-4 earlier on, it was technically a 4-on-3 since Watson had to back. Without any mana, your Vulcan player is just essentially useless. Not having the necessary mana is the reasoning why 50-meter fly is able to just make the plays happen, and the risk paid off here. He got the Book of Thoth stacks fully finished now, whereas just now Watson's trying to build them up.
And the shot calling from Eanix has been so crisp this game. We pointed out that there was the aggression from Auzrik and Vaporish Coast on the duo lane onto Dobson. Well, they don't get the kill, but Dobson has to go back to base. They immediately go for the Gold Fury, recognizing that they're going to have the man advantage, so it's so clear what their plans are.
And then off of that one simple play, because of that Gold Fury bait, they bait out so many cooldowns and ultimates, specifically out of Watson, that they could just go for round 2 because of all the pressure that Predators has over Gnome, able to make that rotation happen before.
And now the grouping up from Eanix is around the Portal Demon. They successfully forced a fight around that Gold Fury, and that's netted them about a 5,000 gold lead. And they want to use to secure one more objective and start a fight. JacobHL and Gnome are trying to establish the front line, but that's going to be the engage coming out from Team Eanix. They go right up into the air, does 50-meter fly to get the return damage. Watson drops the ultimate, but really doesn't get much out of it, and Predators is up on the somersault cloud.
Forced to disengage, but it's Predators on the hunt, stunning him with the Tiger, trying to slow him down with a Master's Well Cudgel, not available to secure the kill. But that's going to force Gnome out of the fight, and 5-on-4. The rest of Eanix going to comfortably walk away as they secure the Portal Demon.
That's what Predators was able to do, go that far forward and zone out everyone from Team RivaL. So even though they don't get any kills, I mean, they get the objective. Now they'll be able to back, buy items, get fully healed back up, and come back and make a push. This Tier 1 tower in solo lane looking particularly juicy with barely any HP.
There's no remaining objectives really to have except the Fire Giant now. It's the time to start knocking out these Tier 1 towers. Predator's going to follow up. Nice taunt to disrupt some of the flow coming out of Eanix. The pull is good.
Once again, Auzrik is being a menace in this engagement. Put the pull over the wall. DineOhSaw right here to try and get the lockdown, but the defender of Olympus to make her CC immune comes out from JacobHL. She's going to get out of dodge.
Not able to really use that later on now with that defensive cooldown. The rest of Eanix looking to play aggressive in that solo lane. Like you mentioned before, that tower on its last legs. They're going to sneeze on it, secure another 500 gold.
And if I'm in the Xbox console league, there's no way I'm letting Auzrik pilot Awilix again.
Never
He's
again.
been playing lights out on it. The pulls have been perfect. Not just that he's hitting him off the knockup, but where he's positioned in the fight is displacing the members of Team RivaL so well.
Now, if you're not going to ban the Awilix against Auzrik, if you're seeing a Wukong first pick, you might as well take that option away from them.
DineOhSaw blinks in, trying to get the setup for 50-meter fly, which is done so well. Watson ultimate is in the air, and it's landing into the team fight, but doesn't get too much damage. Once again, the knockup's able to come out, and Gnome is up into the air, but Dobson wants to come in and try and help chase down Predators.
Auzrik so good about engaging and disengaging. Not able to find any kills yet because of the disengage options from DineOhSaw. The Mez, the Root, the knockup from the ultimate. It's so hard to chase anyone from Eanix.
They were at least able to get that Tier 1 tower in mid as well as the Tier 1 tower in solo lane, but it's RivaL who are looking for the 3-man taunt coming out from JacobHL. The ultimate from Dobson immediately follows up and puts a lot of damage in, but it's Predators who gets the double kill thanks to the damage from Vaporish.
The Snipes were setting up that double kill, trying to run away in the left side mid Harpies. 50-meter fly, though, was disrupted as he tried to charge that, but he's able to lock down Rapio. 3 dead on the side of RivaL. Eanix, they were the ones that were running and disengaging, but they're actually the ones getting credited with all these kills.
RivaL getting just a little bit too aggressive there, and we saw Auzrik make, if you want to call it a mistake, the only one I've seen him make so far. He tried to get the ultimate onto Dobson while he was jumping up over the wall, but just a little bit off the mark. But either way, Eanix sitting up 7-1 with the kills, sitting up 7,000 gold, have all their towers still standing, and now with the Gold Fury respawning in 25 seconds, they're the ones with control.
Very difficult for RivaL to really find their footing in this game. I think that they took too big of a hit in their previous game, and it's taken its toll on them mentally here. That's a big thing, not only in the console scene, but in the PC side of things as well. Is this tests your ability as a player just to bounce back. Some teams thrive off of that kind of stuff. Like if they lose the first game, they get angry and they come back firing in game number 2, but this doesn't seem to be the case for RivaL.
And I think it hurts so much that they gave up that kill in solo lane early. If you're trying to reestablish that mindset, if they hit level 5 that half second before you and that sets up the kill, that's something that I don't want to say I'm in their heads, but it certainly can be a frustration factor.
I don't know what RivaL is doing, but they didn't eat their Wheaties in the morning. That's what I'm seeing so far. And Eanix certainly have. They're just dominating not only this game, but the previous one. If you're just joining us now, this is technically week number 1 of Europe, and then after this will be week number 3 from North America.
And it's not just been excellent mechanical play from Eanix, but their shot calling And the way they're stretching the map has been excellent so far. Now, they're the ones with position as the Gold Fury has spawned. Everyone from RivaL is at least back and alive, but look at this. Rapio is way on the other side of the map as this Gold Fury is already below half health.
DineOhSaw doing a good job zoning, mezzing out JacobHL, forcing the reset for the moment because they want to get the damage off, finding the pull. JacobHL, nowhere to go.
JacobHL gets deleted, and Gnome is the one trying to establish a front line, but look at Vaporish Coast. He's not afraid to go in and put out the damage. Gnome does find a big return kill onto Auzrik, who's been one of the strong players for Eanix, but the Gold Fury is still here, and Eanix are still looking to start it up.
Great pick, but it wasn't until they found the kill onto JacobHL earlier on. There needs to be really quick on the draw here because Jacob's respawning in 10 seconds with that ultimate. Vaporish forcing the Gold Fury while DineOhSaw is still zoning. Here comes some more damage.
They did force out Watson's ult, though, in that last pull, so they won't have their best way to try and contest. Far forward as Predators, he actually ends up getting taken out, and there's that Defender of Olympus crashing in. It looks like it wasn't quite enough, but DineOhSaw gets pulled back into the damage from Team RivaL. They're looking to try and clean up a kill. The Sleepy Time passive is procced, but it's not enough.
The Gold Fury going the way of Eanix, second one of the game, still extending their goal lead slightly to that 7,000 marker. With those two return deaths, though, from DineOhSaw and Predators, RivaL now with a 5-on-3, feeling a little confident to go for Fire Giant?
They're moving over to that solo lane side of the map, but the Portal Demon, which would have probably been their preferred target, is just not up just yet. So they recognize they can't contest against 50-meter Fly and Auzrik, who just respawned on the Fire Giant. They just back up, try and take those 2 wins, which we did see a little bit of a dip back down that gold chart from those kills.
A little low in the health category, wanting to play it very safe. Unfortunately for RivaL now, they don't get anything off of these 2 deaths. Not a tower, not the Portal Demon, yet again.
And no one stuck around, totally. Everybody from Team RivaL backed, and Eanix just take the Portal Demon.
And the problem is, like, if you're going to have somebody stick around, you have to have somebody that can stick around and find the steal. So Jacob can't do both. He can definitely stick around to set up the steal for Watson, potentially, but he was too low.
No way for RivaL to contest that Portal Demon. Eanix get one more objective across the map, essentially for free this time. Now they're free to go back, get those items up. I mean, some of them had to back anyway, but now they'll be able to come back in and have the positioning around the Fire Giant because we're 22 minutes into the game, and Vaporish Coast is certainly capable of DPSing this guy down.
He's been the quiet underlying story of this whole set. He's just been doing his job. This substitution between Welsh Beast Q and Vaporish Coast has been working out for Eanix. Just leave him alone to farm 1v1, put the pressure on in the solo lane, allow Predators to make these rotations happen, and start collecting your objectives.
Fire Giant already very close to being taken down, and they do end up securing it. JacobHL ends up getting knocked up by DineOhSaw just to make sure that he can't be a part of that engagement. Blink in from Auzrik, gets the pull. He waits just long enough to give his team time to show up. Vaporish Coast gets credit for that kill already, a 5v4.
Even using the Aegis to prevent the damage from Watson's ultimate. The rest of Eanix with a 5-on-4 advantage, and Fire Giant are going to look to strip away these towers. And I love what 50-meter Fly did there. Despite DineOhSaw zoning, he used the ultimate 50-meter Fly not to damage the Fire Giant, but just to use the fear and the taunt to prevent anyone from RivaL to get closer to steal that one.
Totally. There's no way I'm letting Auzrik play this Awilix again. He's lights out on it. You see him maximizing the crowd control by knocking up JacobHL, but waiting till he's just about to land again, then pulling him and his team. That was important, actually, for his team to be able to catch up and be able to put in the DPS off that crowd control. JacobHL now taken out, Tier 2 Tower now taken out, and Team Eanix firmly in control with an 11K gold lead.
Auzrik is just a walking highlight reel at this point after this game. He is setting up the action and finishing it off despite his scoreline not looking the best in this game at 1-2-7. His last game performance was just remarkable here, and he's still making the plays happen. He's so far ahead of Rapio, 2-level lead. And for RivaL, with this little bit of a deficit, or a little bit, 12,000 gold of a deficit, it's looking dicey to defend their last remaining towers in the duel lane.
Eanix is playing perfectly as a team. I believe you said it earlier, but it feels like they're all just doing their job. I mean, right now, with the way the meta is, you talked about how Vaporish Coast is able to come in and just sort of do what he's supposed to do. There's not a huge amount of focus on your AD carries through the early game, so let Auzrik, let 50-meter Fly, let Predators be the ones that move it through the early game, and Vaporish comes in, he's in a strong position to burn objectives, to put DPS in, and he's done everything we can need from him.
And something RivaL could have done in this game was allow Dobson to be aggressive 1v1 and then rely rely on Jacob's global ultimate to tip the tides in a 2v1, but RivaL yet again not playing to their comp.
Now the call seems to be from Eanix, the tier 2 tower, the only one remaining for Team RivaL. Auzrik lurking in the jungle, looking to see if he can knock anyone up or blink over. He does have that blink available to try and set up a kill, but it's not even necessary. RivaL choosing to defend on the Phoenix.
Those were two options you listed, but the third one also was Predators potentially finding the setup play for him to pull an unexpected victim and isolating him from that team fight, and knowing how much of an advantage Auzrik has. Doesn't matter who he pulls in that little cove, he'll find the kill by himself.
He's got those kin size finished off, so he'll be chunking through even healthier targets like JacobHL and Gnome. And at this point, Eanix are looking to try and make this push into the Phoenix. This is the perfect one for them, all the way on the duo lane side, away from that Fire Giant. That way, RivaL will have to split focus between the Fire minions and defending the objective if they feel like they can.
Eanix, they don't even want to commit anybody in the mid lane. They're feeling so confident that they have this in a bag. Normally, you want to split one person in the mid, but not Eanix. They got the blinks, they got the engages.
One more time, Predators gets the knock up, and that leads to the pull from Auzrik, but it's actually the turnaround from Team RivaL that gets him blown up right away. But Vaporish Coast, there he is, showing up, getting a quick double kill. Now he's left to put DPS into the Phoenix and try and bring it down.
What a way to introduce yourself to the SCL as Predators takes a third RivaL victim onto Gnome. 3 dead. Left Phoenix is going to get demolished as well. Dobson trying to do what he can to hold this for the moment. It's just not enough. Predator is going to take the aggressive option and rotation in the mid lane. A lot of minions on the right-hand side if they wanted to make that rotation, but trying to go from left to right instead.
Go right to that middle Phoenix, and Vaporish Coast raining in those damage, hitting for like 139 every time. That Phoenix didn't stand a chance. Good Magma Bomb over the wall for Watson, but it feels like too little, too late, as Eanix are now choosing to back off. They got what they wanted. No need to hang around. Fire Giant just fell off. It'll be respawning in about 50 seconds, and they'll be ready with Auzrik in tow to pick it up.
Keyword, Fire Giant no longer available around their ways. Had that been, maybe they pulled the trigger on that last remaining Phoenix, considering there was still a couple dead members from RivaL, but playing it very safe and very meticulous is Eanix. They're calculating all of their options and taking all the safe ones.
And as soon as we start talking about Vaporish Coast, he's the one that comes up big for them in that team fight. Predators goes in with that Oxform, gets the knockoff for Auzrik to pull him back in, but he gets blown up right away, and it's up to Vaporish Coast to follow up, and he does.
And that's why you pick the Rama, knowing that you have the initial burst damage to get all these setup kills. You're basically expecting your Hunter to find these cleanup kills. That's why there's a lot of comps that will rely on Nemesis, Ram, Alquang, Ram, find the cleanup, find the burst, get your W.
And with 2 Phoenixes down, there's no way for Team RivaL to contest this Fire Giant. It's going to go down uncontested. The Phoenix in the solo lane side very likely will be the call for Team Eanix, as all 5 members are rocking that Fire Giant belt around their waist. That's a belt totally I wouldn't mind having.
Absolutely. Yeah. Eanix are looking like they were the ones that were in Valencia in the summer split. RivaL are just asleep, I feel like. They're just rolling over in their grave. Only 5 kills this game, 12 for Eanix. And with this kind of a lead in Fire Giant for another 3.5 minutes, it's good enough to probably close this one out.
And despite the 1, 3, and 8 from Auzrik, he's up 3 levels on the Rapio. Despite everything else we've seen, DineOhSaw is up 3 levels on top of JacobHL, and I think that's a big part of what's happening here in this game. Auzrik is going to be setting up to try and pull one more member into the backline. RivaL haven't had an answer for this Awilix all set long, and I don't see how they can start one now.
Now, sometimes some teams get off to a slow start in console or the PC side of things. So RivaL, considering how much veteranship combined they have in their team, I'm still expecting them to take both of these losses, assuming that they will lose here probably, and find a way to come back in weeks number 2 and 3.
DineOhSaw does go in for the blink, and look at those fire minions. They're pushing into the Titan room. Goes in for the blink, does Gnome, but he immediately gets turned around. Watson ultimate does at least hit 2, but it's not going to be enough. Vaporish Coast up in the air, looking for the snipes. He's able to rain him down to the back line, only hitting 2, but there's the pull from Auzrik. JacobHL's already down.
No, you don't, says Auzrik. Come back here, Jacob. Titan at 50% health. Right side Phoenix very low, but Eanix don't care. They want this last objective.
2-0 for Eanix. They looked dominant in the first or the second set here for Europe. It's their first set, at least here in the fall split. In particular, Auzrik looking great, but wow, Eanix, did they show up to play?
Their composition was just played so perfectly. The Sun Wukong, the Sobek in the first game, even Kumbhakarna in second game just worked so well. Auzrik playing this Awilix just controlled the field in the solo lane despite Predators taking a spill in the first game. The second game was all Predators for him.
And in particular, who showed up for him this game in both games, really 50-meter fly. Since he got to have Raijin in both games, his positioning was perfect. He got to stay in the back line, relying on the setup from Auzrik, relying on the setup from his support as well, and reining in the damage from those Taiko drums. He just looked excellent.
Whenever you're left unchecked as a mid-mage, you're able to rush book a Thoth. You're able to make those rotations and the plays happen. He was left unchecked in the backline almost every single time because of how aggressive the rest of Eanix was in terms of forcing the engage, with Predators roaming about, with the DineOhSaw just zoning everybody and their mothers.
And I didn't make a note of it here in the second game, but for sure in the first game, he hadn't died. I don't know if he died here in this second game, but it probably was only like once. He was really left alone in that backline and able to do whatever he wanted.
And I'm just really shocked of just the lack of execution coming out of RivaL. It was Eanix that was just being the veterans here. They were the ones that I felt could have easily won the whole thing. And if Eanix plays like this, the rest of the sets here and LAN, they could easily be the champions.
If Eanix plays like this and if Predators continues to play like this, we talked about just how well 50-meter fly was doing this because Predator was a nightmare for Team RivaL to try and deal with all game. Even in the early game, getting a setup, I believe he might be seeing that early kill that we had when Auzrik hit level 5 just too early. The knockup was perfect.
And it was actually the knockup from Auzrik that hit before the Oxform anyway. So Auzrik technically set up himself anyway. And Predator is doing a great job zoning whenever he gets in the clouds, not even fully utilizing the heal from that somersault cloud, really knowing when he can land back down just to confirm some damage.
And there were times where Predators kind of maybe went into a situation where the chances of him getting out weren't so great, but it's because he knew that he was zoning 4 to 5 members of Team RivaL and setting up his team to clean up objectives. That's what Eanix were able to do so well that game too, was objective focus.
And that was the life and the mentality of a solo laner in general. If I'm going to go down, then I'm going to bring at least 2 or more with me.
Well, we do have a couple more games coming up for y'all here, so let's pull up the schedule. Just take a look at what else we can expect. The first set that we saw, that was a Kaz versus Era. That ended up being a split, but RivaL versus Eanix, 2-0 commandingly for Eanix. Next up, going to be Soar versus Imam, and then Obey versus Strictly Business, and then Astral Authority versus Elevate to round out the end of the day.
And that's going to be the end of Europe for now, but we're going to have 3 more sets of North America.
That's right. We got plenty more North America action coming up for you. But just as a quick recap, let's take a quick look at those standings to see how everyone's shaking out here so far. So far, after Eanix's strong showing, they're up at the top, sitting with 3 points from that 2-0.
And it's very important to get these points now because there's not that many weeks for Europe. Every match is just so important. And if you're going to go down the way RivaL did, you better do your homework and come in strong in week 2.
Everyone should do their homework and ban Awilix against Auzrik. I don't want to see that dude on Awilix anymore. I don't know about you, Tully.
I confirm. I can
confirm too. Well, that was a great set that we have for you, but like we said, we got plenty more North American coming at you. Quick break. We'll be right back.